do, everybody wear a baseball hat, your hoodies. I'm going to show you some techniques with the hoodies. That'll probably be much different than what you're thinking you can do with a hoodie. Some of the common things that we can do with a hoodie, like pull over someone's head and pull their head down. We'll practice that too, but I also want to show you how to counter that in case you're wearing a hoodie and somebody does it to you. I wear a hoodie a lot. Most of the time I don't wear the hood up, I just like hoodies, they're comfortable. But baseball caps seem to be a very, very popular piece of apparel that people wear. And I'm going to show you some techniques. I actually learned these from Doug Marqueta. And Doug taught these techniques several years ago. I always call, when we do things like when we use the cell phone or we use hats and stuff like that, improvised weapons, Doug calls them weapons of opportunity. And that's what it is. Hey, if I'm wearing a baseball hat, it's now an opportunity for me to use this as a weapon. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to show you to do, since again, if I could borrow you, please. I told Ben to leave his hat on in this position. Because there's two different ways that people wear hats. They wear them like this, or they wear them back like Ben's wearing them, right? The good thing about this type of hat, or wearing of the hat, is that if I get in on him, I can use this to do what? What am I doing to his head? I'm breaking his balance. I can use this by grabbing the back of the brim, I can take him right down with it. Now, I can also use it to come in like this, bend the head back, and what's it expose? Exposes the neck, right? Or the face. Now normally, when somebody's grabbing you, whether it's around the neck, if they're grabbing your hat, where do you think his hands are going to go? They're going to go and grab my hands and try and pull my hands back or stop me from doing this to him. If he does that and he brings his hand up, what's it do? What's it expose? Exposes the groin. Because I pull his head back, it brings his hip forward, and it exposes the groin for a knee. Right? So the first thing we're going to have you do is, we're going to have you turn your hats backwards. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of the things for the hat though. All of the baseball caps have this little knot on the top, or this little button on the top. What do you think that can be used for? That can be used to strike to the face. So if I'm wearing a hat, I can take that hat off and strike to the face with it. I can pull it off and I can snap that out. That little button, even though it won't do a lot of damage, picture you getting that in the eye. Right? A flick in the eye. Now I take that off and I flick it in the eye, I come back, I put it back on, now I can strike and do different things with my hands and my feet. Because what I want the hat to do, I want to distract them. Right? Turn this way. If you watch this part of the hat, I took it off and I did this. I can also do this. And flick. And use the brim to flick the bridge of the nose. Or to flick in the eye with it, or right in the filter. Where else could that go? Right in the throat. Right? Just the edge of that can be hard enough to do some damage, right? So I pull a hat off, I can flick with the button, I can strike with the brim, I can strike in the throat with that, and so on and so forth. Right? I can even do what with it? I can whip it. You can hear the amount of energy that it has. So coming across like a backhand and striking somebody with it. All right, so we talked about some of the different things that you can do with a hat. If you're wearing your hat backwards, you can actually flip the hat around. Now think about this. Let's say, person that's bothering me is not wearing a hat. I'm wearing my hat in this position, and I flip the hat over and strike him with the knee, right? So I went from here, I flipped it over, and I pulled him into this. Now I'm using it as a weapon to control him. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you, what does that tell you? That if he is wearing his hat regular, if he's wearing his hat normal, right? That I can reach out and I can grab that hat and use that, similar to what we can do with the hood, which we'll work on it in a little bit, right? But I can use this to grab, because what do you see a lot? Two guys are having words, they flip the hat off.
They do?
Right? Flip the guy's hat off. You see that a lot. Right? And what do you think this is going to invoke in him? He's going to get angry. Right?
That's my hat.
Right? His hands are going to go up. That's right. Now normally, if one guy flips the hat off the other guy, a lot of times what are you going to see? You're going to follow that with something. Usually you're going to strike the guy. Because a lot of times what happens is the guy's hat gets flipped off, and for a split second, he looks at where his hat just went, and that gives the other guy the opportunity to throw that sucker punch. All right, so you saw two things can happen. If my hat's backwards, I can grab it, flip it around, and strike him with it. If he's wearing his hat in a regular position, I can grab the rim and pull him into a strike. Now, I can also take the hat and I can turn his head sideways. What does that allow me to do now? I throw that punch, what's it going to do? It's going to break his jaw. Right, so we showed a couple different things that we can do with the hat. I can take it off and flip the button. I can take it off and I can strike across the face with it. Now we know that I'm not going to incapacitate somebody by striking that hat and hitting them across the face. But what's that going to do to the thought process? It's going to have a profound effect on somebody's thought process, isn't it? Because whack, when you hit the side of the face, it affects your thought process for a moment. And in that couple of seconds it takes you to refocus, what can your opponent do to you? He can pummel you with some strikes. Right? So I'm not looking to incapacitate him with this. I'm looking to do this. Boom, I'm going to let the hat go so my hands are free now, so I can use my hands to take the person out. So we saw what we did was we turn the hat sideways, we pull the brim down. If the person has the hat on backwards, we can pull the neck back. I was watching a lot of you do it, and the hips were thrusting forward, sets up that groin for a strike, and so on and so forth. So, that's if you can take your hat off for a second. So, I want you to practice taking the hat off and striking with the brim, taking the hat off and doing a backhand strike. I can even take the hat off, do a backhand strike, and then come across and strike right in the side of the neck with the brim of the hat. And that's a shot to the carotid artery. Right? And again, I may not incapacitate him with this, but picture yourself getting a strike hard across the face, and I come back and I hit you in the throat with this. And as I hit you in the throat, I follow through and come back again. And now I follow with my hands. So I might do a 1, 2, and a 3, right? Across the face, into the throat, and back across. If I hit him across the face and his head turns, look what it does. It sets his throat up for a shot here, and this may hit to the back of the neck. Right, or the ear, or something like that, where it's going to rattle you again. Now I get rid of the hat, and I use my hands and other weapons. There are two things that could happen when your hood is pulled down. A, you try to pull back up, or what else do you think you see? He almost did it. What almost happened with your hoodie? Came off. It almost came off. You'll either see people trying to pull back up, or pull up and slide right out of the hood. Right? That's okay, but that's also dangerous. Because as you're pulling out of the hoodie, the person can what? They can time it. So as soon as because the first thing you're going to do when you pull out of that hoodie is what? Pop back up again. The person can time it. So I'd much prefer, if it was me, to defend myself and try to get that person down on the ground and so on and so forth. Okay? Now, what happens if you get the person down on the ground and they still have a hold of the hoodie? I get the person down on the ground from that position, right? Boom, and he's got my hood. Look where I am. You know? Right? I'm right there because I took him down on that close proximity. Now, I still have to watch out for his hands and his legs, but remember what we practiced before, kneeling on the inside of the thigh. And not only that, I have this one trapped here and this one kneeling. What does that do to his groin? Opens it wide open. So even if my head is pulled down like this really tight, I can still do this. I can still strike. Okay? So keep that in mind. So from a lot of practice over the years in Aikido, Judo, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, obviously I'm more well-versed in Aikido than I am the other arts, but don't forget what Aikido is made from. It's made from Aikido Jiu-Jitsu and Judo, right? That's where its roots come from. So I'm going to show you some of the different ways that we can use the hood against our opponent. So I'm going to reach across the inside of the hood up high and over this way here. I'm going to pull my hands in a crisscross motion, but this hand here, watch what I do with this arm. I rotate it, and I'm going to pull it right across his philtrum or across the bridge of the nose. So I'm crisscrossing my hands, and as I do, I take my left hand and I rotate it so that the bone from my forearm goes right across the bridge of the nose or across the philtrum, right? So I reach in, I grab it like this, and I pull. And as I do, I start to pull in opposite directions. Where's my right hand now?
On the cheekbone?
Yeah, my knuckles to my right hand across his cheekbone. So I'm pulling this across like this. I go across his nose easy, but I'm going across the nose and my other hand is digging into the cheekbone. And what does that also allow me to do? No. It also allows me to use this hood for a throw. Okay? So, now, I can even go higher and go right across both eyes. And what is this doing to him? It's blinding him. Right? Not only that, but when I do it really tight, and I pull him right in, and I'm digging those knuckles right into his side of his cheek, and I'm locking it up. And as I do it, I'm crisscrossing those hands nice and tight. And when I do that, and I crisscross it nice and tight, it digs in across the bridge of the nose and right across the eyes. What does that do to the thought process when you can't see? It creates what? It creates havoc, right? Like, you don't know what's coming next. When my arms are in this position, I want you to look at my right arm. Watch what it can do. And come right off into an elbow strike. So as I'm digging in here, wham, and come right in with that elbow. Okay? And that elbow, if I'm grabbing lower like I showed you before across the nose, where do you think that elbow can go now? To the jaw, or right into the neck. So you have a whole bunch of options there. Also, notice that there are two different types of hoodies. I'm wearing one and Ben's wearing one that does what? It zips up. I don't like anything tight around my neck, so I always have my hoodies on. If you notice too, even when I wear a regular sweatshirt, it's usually one of those 3/4 zips. So if Ben was asking if we're going to do one that has a choke, you know, do you reach way in? Is it, you know, where? Well, it depends. Like, I wear my hoodies like this. There's a space here. So if Ben's hoodie is here, whether it's his hood is on or not, let's say his hood is off, I'm going to reach way in and crisscross my hands to pull into a choke, right? And what I'm doing is I'm bringing my hands across in opposite directions, but I'm also doing the same thing, similar to what we did earlier. I'm going to watch my left hand, what it does. What am I doing? I'm rotating the knuckles into the throat as I pull this across, and I rotate those knuckles, and you can see how quick it has an effect on him. Now, his hoodie is zipped down a little bit. Eric, can I borrow you please? So Eric's got a regular hoodie on that doesn't have a zipper. I don't have to go in as deep because there's no slack in here, right? I can just grab right here. When I grab the opposite side and I rotate those hands in, all I got to do is pull that hood across, and my hands go across in opposite directions, and you can see the reactions, picking right up off his feet, right off his feet, coming up off his heels. So this also can do the same thing. You see how he's leaning? You can use it as a throw, as soon as I get him off balance, right? This, now again, if the hood is on, now I got to reach in like we did earlier when we did the cross strikes across the face. I'm grabbing lower, and it's going to be the same thing. It doesn't change with the hood up or down. It doesn't change whether they have a regular hood on or a zipped up hood. It stays the same. Now, there are two ways to do the choke. I can use my forearm, or I can use my knuckles digging into the windpipe, right on the side of the windpipe. Doesn't matter, okay? I'm going to come across here, so you're going to practice two ways. The fist, and you roll the fist in, or pull across with the forearm, and when I do have the forearm across, I take my opposite hand and pull slightly down as I pull across. Because what does that do? It pulls them right into me, and takes the slack right off. Talk about how do we counter that? What if we're wearing a hoodie, someone grabs us, pulls us in and starts to choke us, right? So there's a couple different counters I'm going to show you. We'll do one at a time. I'm going to show you two different counters. So Ben gets inside, and as he starts to do the technique, I push in on his elbow. Go ahead, Ben. And he's trying to cross, and I'm holding his elbow so he can't. So while he's doing this, I'm going to slide down, and as I slide down, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to pull him in and put my hand into his throat, and guess what? He can't get away because he's got his fingers locked in here, his hands locked in here. Okay? So he grabs, and I come up and I push in on his elbows. He's trying really, really hard. I'm going to slide down. And also, what I'm going to do is, when I do this and come down, I take a step back. Because what's it do? It pulls him in and stretches him out. And all I'm doing is taking my chute out and putting it right into his windpipe as I pull down on his arm. I'll show you, we're going to start with the same one that we just did, right? So I push here, I get to here, but watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to reach up and I'm going to pull his hood back over him. It was off, right? So if he's wearing his hood, and I do this, I might go to here first and then grab the hood. If the hood's off, I'm just going to reach around. And now look, I can do front kicks to the groin, I can knee him in the face, and still slip the knee in. Okay? Alright, so that's one of the counters. The other one is, we start with the same way. We're pushing on the elbows, we step back and strike. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to get to here, I'm going to pull in on his wrist, and come underneath the elbow, and do like a Shionagi from Aikido. Even though I'm not bringing it up and over his shoulder. Alright? So I counter with the elbows, I step down and I strike into the throat. That pushes him off balance and weakens him. This hand here split up to the wrist as this one slides under the elbow. I'm going to pull the elbow towards the center and do a throw. Even if he's still holding on, I don't care. I'll start dropping knees into his body and strikes him through his throat, his face. It's like, you can hold my heel all you want, I don't care. If I get pulled down in this position, it won't protect, obviously it's not going to protect me from getting clocked in the face, but what can help is what? She holds onto the hood, I get right inside as tight as I can get. It's going to be real hard for her to throw punches when I'm hugged right up against her. And then I'm going to take her down. Now, what could hurt your chances of a takedown? Right, she's pinned up against the wall. I can't take her down now. Right? If she's pinned up against the wall, my takedown is probably going to look like this. I'm going to push to the inside the leg to the side and take her down sideways. So if I'm in, say I'm in an elevator, I don't have the room. And maybe she's in a corner. I can't take it to the left, the only way to take her is to the right. So there are other options, or, I won't do it to you, or I'm hugged in, and she's up against the wall, and I grab both her ankles, and I yank them back, and have her slide on the wall. Now a lot of elevators, there's what? There are grab rails in there too. She might hit her head on the grab rail on the way down, or whack her head on the back of the wall of an elevator. Right, so there's different things. Other parts of the hood that you can use are the strings. And I can use this to choke her out now with the strings on it. Okay, it doesn't take much. All right. If you look at the hoodie I'm wearing, there's paracord, and somebody will choke you out with that in a heartbeat.
500 pounds.
So you can even use, somebody's shoving you, boom, boom, boom. They're not letting you get close. Latch onto those strings. I'm going to wrap my hands around and pull them tight, and then I'm going to choke her up with the aid of the string. I might be trying to grab her hoodie, and she keeps slapping my hands away. I just reach up and grab the strings. All right, great, thank you.